Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 24th Annual Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame Induction Banquet. Thanks to all of you for being with us as we honor the class of 2019. Would you please rise for the posting of our nation's colors by the Color Guard from Fort Benning, U.S. Army, and remain standing for the retiring of the colors as Kimitha Isel honors America with the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets re-glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Please be seated. It's a great pleasure to introduce to you the class of 2019 modern and current era inductees. Each inductee will be escorted by cheerleaders and mascot Cody the Cougar from Columbus State University. Beginning with and representing his father, 2019 inductee HD Dickie Butler, a graduate of the University School for Boys and Boys High School in Atlanta, and the University of Georgia, his son, Comer Butler. And Columbus State University 2019 inductee, James Jimbo Davis. From Hardaway High School and the University of Georgia, 2019 inductee, Madden Hatcher III. from Brookstone School and the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, 2019 inductee, Jay Sparks. From Central High School, Phoenix City, and Columbia University, 2019 inductee, Bruce Stevens. If you'll kindly refer to the induction banquet program on the table before you, you'll note that we'll begin with the invocation, followed by dinner. Following dinner, we'll recognize notables in the audience, past year inductees or their representatives, and then, of course, the highlight of the evening, the induction of the class of 2019. Permit me, if you will, to just make a comment or two before we have our invocation. For a number of years, we have been privileged to have Dr. Jimmy Elder provide our invocation. Each time we've introduced him, he has very efficiently and timely walked from his seat to the steps to my left. Upon stepping up to the mic, he has expressed a personal desire. It goes like this: another year without a cheerleader escort. Well, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame believes it is time that we satisfy his desire and to take care of business. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the pastor of First Baptist Church, Columbus, Dr. Jimmy Elder.
Well, it's about time, Jim. Thank you very much. I am so excited always to be here. This is one of the most significant moments in our community's experience, because we recognize not only accomplishment, but we also recognize the influence of all of these individuals on the lives of others, and that helps to build the future for this community. We live in a great nation. We live in a great community, and it's appropriate that we thank God for what He has done for us and continues to do. Before I have the prayer, though, I want us to thank Jim White. He always does such a marvelous job, and tonight it's particularly well done. So I want to thank... He set the bar high. Would you bow with me as we pray together? Lord, thank you for the joy of an evening like this, for the community in which we live, and for your love and your presence around us. We do not take for granted your gifts. to live in a community like this, to have leadership like we have, to have individuals that accomplish so much and then pour that influence upon others and help to create an atmosphere where people learn and develop and grow in their own lives and help change your world. We give you thanks. Thank you for these who are being inducted, for the very special place they have in all of our hearts and in the history of this community and in the future of it. And we thank you that you give us the inspiration of their lives. So bless what takes place tonight. Bless these individuals, bless their families, and everyone who has been inducted into this Hall of Fame. Thank you for your gifts of love and your presence. And thank you for the food. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll reconvene in about 25 minutes. Enjoy dinner. Again, we welcome you to this special occasion, an occasion where we will honor those who have contributed to the world of sports. However, before we honor the class of 2019, we want to recognize a number of special guests this evening, as well as express our appreciation. First of all, we appreciate the presence of the Ledger-Enquirer photographer who was with us this evening, and I believe and trust that there will be a group picture of the inductees in tomorrow's paper. We're grateful for that. We're likewise grateful to Rex Castillo and Justin Holbrook for their support of the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame. Rex is with us this evening to my immediate right, and we're grateful for his presence. We're grateful as well to Dave Platter, WTVM, for his coverage of the Hall of Fame. Special thanks from me to Chuck Comiskey. Chuck is the one who designs and develops the induction banquet program that you have on the table before you, and makes us always look good, and we're very grateful for Chuck's contribution to the Hall of Fame. And a very, very special thanks to Phil Scoggins and Robbie Ross. You'll see videos tonight on all of our inductees, and thanks to these two fellows, they do a superb job in making us look good and helping us be successful and significant. We're as well grateful for the presence of various dignitaries and notables from the area. From the city of Smith Station, Alabama, we have Mayor Fred Copeland. Mayor Copeland, I don't know where you're seated. If you will, stand up. Well, I still haven't located him. Well, if you see him, tell him we said thank you. Some 25 years ago, a group of local sports enthusiasts gathered to consider how they might begin a process of recognizing athletes, coaches, and contributors who were very accomplished in the world of sports. After a series of meetings, the organization we know as the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame was originated. That organization is a 501c3 corporation and is supported by 16 selection committee and board members, most of whom are present this evening. So if you're a member of the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame organization, would you please stand? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your for the job well done this year. We're pleased to have a number of past year inductees with us, or inductee representatives, and we would ask at this time, would all past year inductees please stand and be recognized? All past year inductees are inductee representatives. Thank you very much. Now it's time to honor our class of 2019 inductees from the pre-modern era, covering the period of 1877 to 1948. Our first pre-modern era inductee is Mr. Herbert Bremer. Would you please direct your attention to the screen?
In 1936-37, Herbert Bremer was catcher and first baseman for the Columbus Redbirds, the St. Louis Cardinals farm club. In 1937, he homered in the bottom of the ninth inning, giving Columbus the South Atlantic League Championship, considered to be the most famous home run in the city's baseball history. Also in 1937, the best season in Columbus, he batted .305 with 20 home runs and a league-leading 101 RBIs. Bremer played 3 seasons in the major leagues with the St. Louis Cardinals. Following his baseball career, he became a full-time resident of the city of Columbus, working for the Central of Georgia Railway. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Herbert Bremer.
Accepting for her father and his grandfather, Herbert Bremer, his daughter, Susan Weeks, and his grandson, Stephen Inman. From the pre-modern era, Mr. James C. Jim Fox. Please direct your attention to the screen.
James Fox was obtained from Atlanta by the new South Atlantic League Baseball Club in Columbus. He managed the team for 7 seasons. Columbus, under his leadership, won championships in 1910, 1911, and 1915. Fox was the first South Atlantic League manager to win 3 pennants until the 1950s. Fox's team, called the Foxes in his honor, won 467 games, losing 364. Fox was the secretary of the Columbus Club in 1926 when the city returned to professional baseball in the Southeastern League after a 9-year absence. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct James Fox.
Accepting for the Fox family, Madden Hatcher Jr. and Samuel Fox Hatcher, his grandsons. Let's face the camera in that direction first. All right, now let's turn to this other camera. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Nice program.
From the pre-modern era, Mr. Sam Prophet, please direct your attention to the screen once again.
Sam Prophet enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1927, spending 24 of the next 30 years at Fort Benning, competing in a variety of sports. He quarterbacked Fort Benning's football teams for 13 years at 5'8.5" inches and 145 pounds. In 1928, while playing for the 29th Infantry Regimental Team against the Tankers, he returned a punt 65 yards for a touchdown, then drop-kicked the extra point to win the championship. Prophet had a .485 batting average during his best season in baseball while playing first base. He won intramural track championships in the javelin, pole vault, mile, and half-mile races. Prophet fought in the Battle of the Bulge, where he was taken prisoner by the Germans. He was held as a POW for more than 4 months, before he was liberated by the Russian troops. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Sam Proffitt.
Ladies and gentlemen, accepting for Sam Proffitt Sr., Sam Proffitt Jr. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
Let's look toward the camera. All right, now let's look this way. Congratulations. Now it's time to honor our class of 2019 inductees from the modern and current era, that is 1949 through the present date. Our first inductee from the modern and current era was an outstanding three-sport athlete at University School for Boys and Boys High School in Atlanta. Credited with his greatest game, Boys High School 20-0 victory over Columbus High School at Memorial Stadium. That was in 1925. You all remember that, don't you? He ran back a punt for 98 yards. He scored on a 12-yard run and a 25-yard pass, scoring all three of his team's touchdowns. He became head coach at Columbus High School in 1945, where he coached for 11 years, winning 2 Bi-City championships. The Georgia High School Association honored Dickie Butler in 1963 for his outstanding and enduring contributions to high school sports in Georgia, inducting him into the Georgia Prep Sports Hall of Fame, merging later with the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. The Dickie Butler Trophy was instituted at Columbus High School in 1963 to be presented annually to the school's football player with the best scholastic average. If you'll please direct your attention to the screen.
H.D. Dickie Butler was one of the most prolific athletes to ever come out of the University School for Boys and Boys High School in Atlanta. One of his most amazing performances came on a road trip to Memorial Stadium in Columbus in 1925, where he led his teammates to a 20-0 victory over Columbus High. Butler scored all 3 touchdowns for the University School for Boys, including a 98-yard punt return for a TD. After graduating, Butler was offered a professional baseball contract by the Cincinnati Reds. Instead, he opted to accept a football scholarship to the University of Georgia, but a knee injury his freshman year ended his football playing career. In 1930, Dickie turned to coaching. He spent 4 seasons coaching football and basketball at Decatur High School. During that time, his teams won 7 North Georgia Interscholastic Conference titles, 4 in football, 3 in basketball. Butler's coaching career would take him to Georgia Military College in Barnesville, where he spent 6 seasons. In 1945, Dickie was named head football coach at Columbus High. He would spend 11 seasons at the helm of the Blue Devils, notching a record of 56 wins, 47 losses, and 5 ties. His 1946 team was one of his best, posting a 7-2 record, featuring 2 outstanding running backs, Chuck Magoni and Gil Stevenson. Butler led Columbus High to 2 Bi-City championships. He resigned as head coach in late 1955 after suffering a heart attack earlier that year. Dickie was inducted into the Georgia Prep Hall of Fame in 1959. He passed away 4 years later in 1963 at the age of 56. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to posthumously induct H.D. Dickie Butler.
Ladies and gentlemen, accepting for H.D. Dickie Butler, his son, Comer Butler. Take a look at the camera down there. Shake my hand. Put it in the chair for you. The mic is yours.
Thank you. Dad was
quite a football athlete from what I understand. And the years that he was at Columbus High, like I say, 11 years, numerous people he coached and taught. Back then you had to teach and coach, taught algebra and history. So I can't tell you how many people that went in his class and also were what he always referred to as his boys. He was one of the few people that I ever knew that never turned anybody down. He always had a special place in his heart for everybody, and he finished his life like that, really. The legacy of Dickie Butler is still carried on, and there's some of his players, his athletes that are here tonight. If you guys would stand up, I would appreciate people just see who you are. I know there's some in here. There they are. That's some of Dickie Butler's great athletes and students. They're still around. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to the Butler family. Our next inductee has attained 20 Peach Belt Conference championships in cheerleading and 7 national collegiate championships. Developed a below-average cheerleading program at Columbus State University, turning it into a competitive powerhouse at the sport of cheerleading in Division II. He has achieved top 5 finishes in national collegiate championships over the past 20 years and has been in the top 50 college cheer programs for the past 15 years. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Anyone who knows James Jimbo Davis knows he is passionate about his university and has built a career cheering them on. The Columbus State University alum was named the Cougars cheerleading coach in 1994, the year he graduated. At the time, it was a fledgling program drawing mainly from local high schools. But in a matter of just a few years, Jimbo transformed the cheerleading program into a national powerhouse, attracting student athletes from around the country. 4 years after taking over the program, Jimbo led his CSU Cougars to the Peach Belt Conference Championship in cheer. That's a title they have totally dominated since 1998. CSU has claimed 20 Peach Belt Conference titles in cheer over the last 2 decades and 6 conference titles in dance. But the Cougars' success under Jimbo goes well beyond conference crowns. His cheerleading squads have captured 5 team national championships in 2004, 2005, 2008, 2011, and in 2014. His cheerleaders have claimed 2 co-ed partner stunts national championships in 2011 and 2014. When you consider that CSU has had top 5 finishes in the college nationals in each of the last 15 years, you can begin to understand the remarkable prestige the program has achieved under Jimbo's leadership. Another measure of the program's success, 6 CSU cheerleaders have made Team USA, winning gold medals in the World Cheerleading Championships hosted by the International Cheer Union. Since 2007, Jimbo has served as an assistant athletic director at Columbus State University. Besides his duties at CSU, Jimbo has also served as a cheerleading coach with Auburn University. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct James Jimbo Davis.
Take a look at the camera. Put that in your chair.
Just really don't know where to start. Looking out, I will tell you, I am a lot like my mother, and I can tell you there's probably a lot of phones and stopwatches to see when that first tear runs down my cheek. And so the kids in the back are the greatest thing that ever happened. But my coworkers and my alumni, and my supporters have been wonderful. But I guess the first thing I really need to do is thank Jim and Ann White for putting this event together and keeping this dream of Charlie Morrow's alive. And then that board that seemed to understand that the sport of cheerleading, or the activity of cheerleading, and what I had accomplished was worthy for me to be here. I'm a child of the 1900s, and bucket lists were not something we thought we were going to do. I don't think bucket lists existed. But if I'd had a bucket list, it would not have probably included being someone involved in athletics or being someone inducted here tonight. I look around this room and I see many people. I see many people that have supported me and supported athletics. For each of you, thank you, because you've made me enjoy what I do. I do need to recognize some special people, and that's my sister, Janet. If you know us, we have a very small family, and that's it, but we have a humongous family and what we call family friends, and those are people that have helped raise us, and I'm going to identify some of those, and I could identify hundreds of people in this room that have made a difference, but that's Marion Baker, Joanne Gallops, J.C. Bray, Wanda Rutledge, Susan Casharo. Bates Lay is our neighbor that took us to Hawaii and had 2 weeks of fun, and we just got back, but she has become a tremendous asset in our family. And then Jane Green. The Green family is unbelievable. And that's the people that got me started in this. So before that tear comes down, I'm also going to tell you that two great people that had a humongous impact, and every morning I wake up and hope that I can do pride to them, are my parents, and that was Becky and Jimmy Davis. Also on that list is a gentleman that asked me if I would babysit his cheerleaders. I had been this crazy 30-year-old that came back to Columbus College at the time. I had a young lady that I taught in Sunday school that said, "Hey, why don't you come play our mascot?" I had an 8-year career at CB&T or Synovus. There had to be something else worrying about other people's money. I played Cody the Cougar. The cheerleaders were so bad that Coach Green stopped the game because none of them had showed up to inform me that him and Dr. Brown had asked him not to come back. He asked me to continue, and I was the only spirit that we had. But Herbert Green gave me this opportunity, and as I said, if you ever went to Woodruff, we all had small area in the bottom. In that copier room, he said, "Do you mind babysitting the cheerleaders? And you're fixing to graduate, and I will help you pay for grad school." 30-year-old that had been there and had a lot of fun. 2 more years, why not? My mother was unbelievable. She encouraged and told me, she probably had never met Coach Green at the time, "Please go and do. It's an opportunity for you." I was doing this 2 years. I was a student that literally had an F in English 102. I found out it was my teacher's birthday. I went to the bakery in North Columbus, and my friend Linda Wendell Schaefer is laughing because she knows it's a very true story. That A looks real good on my transcript. So education was not something that I believed in, but I had learned over the past 10 years that it was something I needed, because I'm sure my mother knew after my father passed away that she had to raise us. And I remember even today, my father always saying his children were going to college. I know my mother knew it would take my sister 4 years, and it would take me many, many more. She supported me. She loved my kids, and she loved CSU. She was granny to them. I've been here 25 years. I've had lots of kids that have come. Coach Green sent us to camp. That was going to be the key to being good cheerleaders. We went to camp. Those first 8 kids, he wanted 4 boys and 4 girls. He wanted to kind of be like Georgia College, where they could flip from one end zone to the next. That's all he asked for. So we worked on that, but we went to camp and it was a disaster. But what happened is that we all, 8 of us, fell in love with the sport of cheerleading and collegiate cheerleading. We came back. We wasn't real good. We were better than what we'd had. Miss Green wasn't babysitting the cheerleaders like she had the previous years. Coach Green was pleased because it was Jimbo's job. Over those years, I have met wonderful people, and they're here tonight. I have met wonderful student athletes, not just in the opportunity of cheerleading, but in many different areas. My parents believed in education. I grew up. And the greatest accomplishment, and I wrote this long speech, and it's not what I really wanted to say when I got up here, but my greatest accomplishment is that I believe, just like Herbert Green did, and just like my mother did, that I can do anything if I set my mind to it. And we can all do that. Very seldom did you see Coach Green and he'd say, how do you not just love CSU? He loved it. He loved every one of those kids. He made us do. I can tell the funny stories like you can't imagine. He used to ask us that first year to go on 2-day weekend trips. We came back from Lander University. We stopped at a gas station. Pete, the bus driver, filled the bus up. We were in the van behind because the bus couldn't hold the 8 cheerleaders. They came out of the store hysterical and said, stay real close. If fire comes out of the back of the bus, start flickering your lights. Pete's filled it up with kerosene. We think we can get home. The stories are endless. I met great people. People started believing in what I wanted. There's a lady here tonight named Pam Carter. She sent me a letter saying I have 2 young ladies. It was my 2nd year. She just won the state cheerleading championship. She said, please talk to them. I think they can help. Little did I know with that letter, it became a lifelong friend. She's taught me so much about cheerleading. She introduced me to Georgia High School state cheerleading. If you haven't ever been here in November, it's a wonderful event. I've gotten the opportunity. A young lady came up to me this year and she said, I'm coaching now, and every awesome, memorable experience of my high school life you were a part of. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, you always handed us our trophy, and there's 4 pictures of you in my bedroom. And I said, well, thank you. But she also introduced me to that Coaches Association, and they do so much. And they wanted me to do so much because they told me the importance of giving to the kids. I can sit here and name what I've done, but the hundreds of kids that believed in this crazy person named Jimbo, we no longer were local kids. My first out-of-town kid was Patrick Thomas from Bridgeport, Alabama. Since then, we've had kids from Alaska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Delaware, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida. They come from all over because they believe in what Columbus State has. They believe in the education that it can provide, and they believed in a crazy person named Jimbo and the cheerleading program that he did. My parents believed that you get an education to be better. I had a gentleman by the name of Dr. Mike Taylor that after many years of just attending college, explained how you get that degree. So that's what I do on a daily basis. I get the opportunity to watch many young adults grow up, watch them when they come in as babies, and when they leave. Some of them don't get that goal of obtaining a degree, and that's okay. But many, many, many do. But when it's all said and done, that college experience is that they are better adults, they are better parents, leaders, friends, and workers. They've created a program, and the list of accomplishments go on and on. They won that. I just get the privilege of being the best babysitter in the world. I'm still watching Coach Green's cheerleaders. I still have hundreds of friends, and I think it's a wonderful thing. And I can't thank Mr. White, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame, Columbus State, and a large majority of you, and the hundreds of alumni that have been through my program that has made me who I am today. And for that, thank you.
Congratulations, Jimbo Davis, and congratulations to the Davis family. Our next inductee was the 1976 USGA Junior Amateur Champion, an outstanding member of the University of Georgia golf team, lettering in 1979, 80, 81, and 82. He was captain of the University of Georgia golf team in 81, 82. He was All Southeastern Conference, second team in 1982, a member of Hardaway High School state championship teams in 1976 and 77, and I believe 1975 was Hardaway's first state championship team. The 1977 team was undefeated. He was a National High School Coaches Association All-American in 1977. He was in 1980 the Spirit of America Invitational Individual Champion. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Madden Hatcher III has been splitting the fairways since he was a young boy. You could say he's pretty much always felt comfortable with a golf club in his hands. Madden left no doubt who was king of the greens at the Country Club of Columbus, winning the junior championship 3 consecutive years from 1975 to 1977. In high school, he was an anchor on the links for the Hardaway Hawks. He was a member of the 1975 Hardaway State Championship team, which captured the school's first ever state golf title. He also helped pace the Hawks to another state championship in 1977, when the team went undefeated. 1976 was when the entire country caught a glimpse of Madden's phenomenal skills on the golf course. He traveled to Colorado and bested the field to become the USGA Junior Amateur Champion, becoming the first golfer from Columbus to win a USGA event. 1977 brought further recognition of Madden's talent. He was named a High School All-American by the National High School Coaches Association. That same year, he advanced to the 4th round of the British Amateur, becoming the last American in the field to bow out. That year, he also received the coveted Gunby Jordan Outstanding Amateur Award. Madden made Bulldog fans mighty happy when he decided to play collegiate golf at the University of Georgia. He lettered all 4 years from 1979 to 1982. He was captain of the team in 1981 and 82, and in 1982 was named to the All-SEC second team. Madden has been a force to contend with on the club level in Columbus. He is a 3-time men's club champion at the Country Club of Columbus. He won the men's club title at Green Island in 1981 and has twice won their senior men's championship. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Madden Hatcher III.
Ladies and gentlemen, class of 2019 inductee Madden Hatcher III. Take a look at the camera.
Thank you, Jim. It's truly an honor to be here tonight and to share this evening with my fellow honorees. Congratulations to all of you on your many outstanding achievements and your being recognized here in your respective fields. I want to thank the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame Board and Committee for considering me for induction. It's truly humbling to join such an esteemed group of people who've achieved so much in athletics. When you look at the names and their accomplishments, I'm not really sure mine fits, but I thank you nonetheless. It's particularly special tonight to be inducted on the same night as my great-grandfather, Jim Fox. Unfortunately, I was too young to know him well before he died, but I know how much my father and uncle respected and admired Pa Jim. I wouldn't be here without a lot of help from a lot of people, and trying to name them would take way too long, so I'll keep it limited, but there are a few I want to thank, beginning with my parents. They made a lot of sacrifices to allow me to pursue a passion of chasing a little white ball around the golf course. Not only in resources, but also in time. They allowed me the opportunity to play golf all over the country and even in a foreign country. There'll be more on that later. I can remember them driving my golfing friends and me to tournaments until we were able to drive. And then for some reason, they allowed us to drive ourselves to tournaments all over the Southeast. For that, I'm forever grateful and thank you. Charlie Harper was the golf professional at the Country Club of Columbus and taught most of us there how to play golf. He was very patient, always available when we were panicking about our golf games, whether it was right before a tournament or just in general. Larry Gaither, who's here tonight, was our golf coach at Hardaway. In 1975, as they said, we surprised many, I think including ourselves, by winning the state high school golf championship. After that, I think Coach decided that we needed to step up the competition a little bit from just the local 2 to 3 team matches, so he started entering us in some regional high school tournaments, as well as starting one of our own here in Columbus. And that allowed us to test ourselves against the best teams in the Southeast, and it helped us all become better players. My senior year of high school, 1977, we added a couple of pretty good freshmen to the team, Carter Mize and Wright Waddell. And that's the year we went undefeated. And I think Carter and Wright may have been on at least 2 other teams that did that while they were at Hardaway. I know they won 4 straight state championships. We had a lot of good players at Hardaway, and we constantly challenged one another to get better. Dick Kopus was the golf coach at the University of Georgia, and he was kind enough to offer me an opportunity to play at UGA. And being a lifelong Bulldog fan, this was a dream come true. We had the opportunity to play golf all over the country and even played with some folks whose names you might recognize: Paul A. Zinger, Fred Couples, Hal Sutton, Bob Tway, and many others. My wife and children have also been extremely supportive of me. While most of my limited successes were in my earlier years, I've continued to play golf both for fun and in competition. As you know, golf's a very time-consuming game, and they've been very encouraging and understanding when I've spent time away from home, whether just for a casual round of golf or attempting to compete in a tournament. I thank you so much for supporting me over the last 28 years. Also, just the many friendships that I've made through golf. They're all very important. Regular golfing friends, the caddies at the Country Club of Columbus, my teammates, all the tournament officials and hosts, they're all people who've made this journey special. For those of you out there who play golf, you know it's an extremely humbling game. There are many, many more defeats than victories, and it seems like you remember the near misses kind of more than you remember the wins. So I'll close by telling you a couple of stories that are the kind that help keep somebody grounded. In 1977, I played in the British Amateur. I was 17 years old. My parents let me to go to England by myself. And of course, as a 17-year-old, you can't rent a car. So I had to find a ride from the hotel to the golf course and back every day. The hotel was in a place called Scarborough, England, and it was about a 20 to 25-minute ride to the golf course. Fortunately, most of the tournament officials were staying at the same hotel, so it was usually pretty easy to catch a ride at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. Well, after I lost my last match, I told my caddy I was going to grab some lunch and I'd come outside and pay him. Then after that, I was going to have to try to find a ride back to Scarborough because it was the middle of the day and the officials weren't coming and going. Well, while I was eating, I felt a tap on my shoulder, and it was an English policeman. He pointed out the window and he said, "Is that guy your caddy?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, we need for you to come out and pay him. It seems that he skipped on his hotel bill." I guess he knew I was going to lose. So I went outside and paid him, and then I asked the officer, where are you taking him? They said, "To Scarborough." I said, "All right." I said, "Well, I need a ride. Is there any way you could give me a ride?" They said, "Sure." So they stuck me and my golf clubs in the back of the paddy wagon with my caddy. It was a very graceful exit from the British Amateur. The other story comes from my 1 week of lightning in a bottle, the U.S. Junior in Evergreen, Colorado. In the finals, I played a guy named Doug Clark, and Doug was from La Jolla, California. He was a very accomplished player. He was the odds-on favorite to win that week. He had won both the California Amateur and the Trans-Miss Amateur that summer. And for me, on the other hand, this was my first golf tournament where I had arrived by plane. So we were coming from totally different angles. So fast forward about 35 years, I was on this golf trip in North Carolina. And the pro at the course, who I knew from back in college, came up and he was talking to us. And in the course of the conversation, he says, "Hey, I think I saw your name in a book the other day." Well, what? That is cool. So he said, "I'll tell you what, I'll see if I can find it and I'll bring it back tomorrow." So I've got the book with me. It's called The Heart of the Game. And I'm going to read a few lines from it. But first I'll tell you, it was written by a pro in Nashville, Tennessee. And this particular chapter is about a guy that was a really good junior player, and he went on to play at Wake Forest. Well, he played Doug Clark in the quarterfinals of the U.S. Junior and lost in the quarterfinals. Well, there's several pages in that chapter about Doug and his many accomplishments. So from the book, Doug Clark had the total package, the game, composure, and shots that were well beyond his age. Growing up in California and playing with Gene Littler, a very successful PGA Tour pro, Clark got some natural learning training few had access to. He made the Walker Cup team and played in the 1980 Masters. Matt was 3 under when Doug closed him out, 4-3. Clark was 7 under par. Matt just ran out of holes. Clark's experience was the difference. Well, first of all, I can tell you, I did not know any of that when I played him, thank God. But here's where I come into the book, and I'm going to quote it. 2 days later, Doug Clark lost in the finals to a player I'd never heard of, Madden Hatcher III from Georgia. So I'm in a book. I appreciate this honor very much. And thank all of you for attending tonight and supporting the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, Madden Hatcher, and congratulations to the Hatcher family as well. Our next inductee organized and began the Columbus College women's basketball program in 1989 with one scholarship, growing it into national prominence, achieved 2 Final Four appearances, was awarded the Baden National Coach of the Year Award in 2001, won 31 consecutive games in 2000, 2001, was ranked number 1 in the country for 8 consecutive weeks. He was inducted into the Columbus State University Hall of Fame in the 2014 class. His teams tallied 10 20-win seasons, which, is most of you know, is the benchmark of a team's success. He was 3-time Peach Belt Conference Coach of the Year, and as Columbus State University Athletic Director, he added 5 NCAA sports programs to the overall program. Would you please direct your attention to the screen?
Jay Sparks' success at the helm of Columbus State University women's basketball program can best be described as nothing but net. Jay started the women's program at what was then Columbus College in 1989. He began as a part-time coach with only 1 scholarship to offer. That was the beginning of a 20-year run at the helm of the Lady Cougars, in which his teams won 367 games and lost 231. Sparks had 10 seasons in which his teams won at least 20 games, including 6 in a row at one stretch. 3 times, Jay was named Peach Belt Conference Coach of the Year, following the 1993-94 season, the 97-98 season, and the 2000-2001 season. In 2001, he was the recipient of the prestigious National Coach of the Year award. The Cougar team he was coaching at the turn of the century made it all the way to the Division II National Tournament Final Four. The following year, Sparks Cougars were ranked number 1 in the preseason Division II poll and remained there for 8 consecutive weeks that season. That team posted a perfect 16-0 mark in the conference. That team also advanced to the Final Four of the national tournament, losing their only game of the season in the semifinals, and finishing the season with a 31-1 record, the best in the nation. During his tenure at CSU, Jay coached 2 All-Americans, 2 Peach Belt Conference Players of the Year, and 2 Conference Freshmen of the Year. Coach Sparks also served as Columbus State's athletic director over his final 6 years with the university. During that time, he helped start 5 intercollegiate sports at CSU, including rifle, men's and women's track, and women's golf. He helped bring 10 Peach Belt Conference tournaments to the CSU campus and the city of Columbus. With Jay at the helm, CSU captured the Conference Commissioner's Cup twice, which goes to the athletic program considered the best in the conference. In 2014, Sparks was inducted into the Columbus State University Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Jay Sparks.
Ladies and gentlemen, class of 2019 inductee, Jay Sparks.
Phil Scoggins, you can make anybody look good. You know the one thing that I noticed about that film? My bald spot wasn't as big. Good evening, and wow. This is a wow experience. It's, as Madden says, it's humbling. It's humbling just to be here in front of all of you. Many of you that I know. But it's humbling looking at that brochure and thinking that your successes fit in with these superstars. I'm no superstar, but here I am. In the coaching world, you don't do it by yourself. It's not a solo job. Sure, maybe there's one person with the title head, but it's not a solo job. It takes a staff, a good staff. It takes good players. It takes lots of people. In a career, it takes an army of people to make somebody be recognized as good. I need to thank those people, that army, the Hall of Fame committee, first off, for suggesting and electing me to this stage. Thank you. Next, my mother and father, Sue and Joe. I would challenge anybody in here to even think they've been to more sporting events than Sue Sparks. Many of you probably don't know this. She and my dad met at Auburn. They honeymooned at an Auburn football game in the pouring down rain. I think that was God's way of saying, welcome to athletics, Sue Sparks. She's been a consummate supporter, and I thank her. Joe Sparks. A lot of you coached against him. A lot of you coached with him. A lot of you played for him. I got to play for him. One of the highlights of my playing days. He was obviously my first mentor. He's obviously the reason that I got into coaching. And I can remember as a 5 and 6 and 7-year-old boy going to Columbus High basketball practices when the ball was just about as big as me. But I was trying to learn to bounce that thing. I guess even at that age, I wanted to make my father proud. But maybe the defining moment of pushing me over to the coaching world was when I was an 8th grader at Arnold. And I don't know what made me think to do this, but my dad was coaching basketball at Columbus High, and I decided that I wanted to draw up a basketball play and give it to him, which I had never done before. He had never showed me how to do it before, and so I just kind of made it up. And I remember drawing that play up and folding it up, and I handed it to him, and I don't remember if we were at home or if he was driving me to school or what. And I said something like, I think this is going to help you win a game. And I handed it to him. You know, the only thing that I can remember about that piece of paper is it had more lines on it than a road map. And I'm sure that he had a big smile on his face when he opened it up and laughed. But at the same time, I think he was proud. I want to thank my wife, Cindy, my 2 children, Emily and Bentley. If any of you think that being the spouse of a coach is an easy job, you need to rethink quickly. I was not very good at separating my job and my family. The emotions, the intensity of coaching, I brought home every night, and Cindy was my sounding board. She probably got tired of it, but I'm sorry. If we had a bad practice, she got to hear about it. If we lost a game, even though she already knew, she got to hear about it. I'm sorry to Emily and Bentley, who probably thought they lost their father during basketball season because I wasn't there very much. I wish I was better at separating. I wish I could have walked out the door of the gym and left basketball right there, but I wasn't good at it. I'm still not good at it. So I thank you and I love you all. I want to thank the athletic staff. Jimbo alluded to it earlier. In 1989, the basketball program started, and our offices were, some people call it the basement of Woodruff. It was tiny. It was tiny, and we had tiny cubicles. Some people would say it was intimate. Well, there were no women down there, so it was not intimate. But I like to pick on Robert Moore, and so I'm going to quickly pick on Robert. Why do I like to pick on Robert? Because he can laugh at himself better than anybody I know. But Robert's cubicle and my cubicle were side by side. And as I said, we were intimate. And in the middle of the day, Robert would get the infamous phone call that was private. And he would go about talking in whispers. But we all heard everything that was said, even though he was whispering. I think back on those days, and I just smile. Fun times. Evan Isaacs, the current tennis coach at CSU, described the athletic staff. This was years ago, but he hit the nail on the head. He described the athletic staff as a family. And we didn't have near as many sports as the program has today. And so in that small, intimate space, all the coaches had their little space, their little cubicle. But we were family because we cared about what happened to our family. We cared about winning and losing. And winning promoted the family, and it promoted CSU. So everybody went to each other's events. Everybody cared about each other's events. It was a special, special time. And playing in Woodruff was a special, special time. I'll never forget the first time that Lander University came down. They had a new coach, and I'm not knocking this. I'm just giving you the facts. A female coach comes down, and she had on a black leather skirt and a white shirt and a black leather jacket. And she walked in, and she started giggling when she walked in Woodruff Gym. Unfortunately for her, our players heard that, and they got a little bit ticked off. Now, at that time, Lander had just built a brand new facility, and so they were very proud of it. But our girls weren't proud of the comments that coach made. And so they set out and said, we just need to teach her a little bit of a lesson. I remember at the end of that game, I was a little upset because we created 38 turnovers that night. We won by 60. And on the last time out, the girl said, 60 is not enough. I don't think she ever made statements anywhere she went from that point on. But my point was that CSU staff, those are friends for life, and I appreciate them all, especially Herbert Green. All right, I got to tell you the story. I'm called up at the first part of 1989. Herbert Green says we're going to start a women's basketball program. We need a part-time coach. I'd like for you to apply. I said, I'd love to. So I applied. He got me an interview, a committee of 3 or 4 people. I interviewed. I go home. I'm waiting on the follow-up phone call of yes, no, or whatever. Fast forward 2 years, I've gotten the job. I'm coaching. I'm not very good. I'm wet behind the ears. But I have the best mentor available, Herbert Green. And he mentored me so stinking well, and I loved his subtlety. He would hear something that I would say in a game or I'd say at practice, and he wasn't pleased with it. So he would call me in and say, we've got to be better than that. And I said, yes, sir, I want to be better than that. He says, and we got to have success. And I said, I'm all about having success. Yes, sir. He says, have I reminded you lately about how hard I had to fight to get you this job? And I said, no, you haven't. He said, that short order cook from Hardee's gave you one heck of a run for your money. I said, yes, sir, Coach, I hear you. What a great man. Finally, 2 special groups, all the assistant coaches that worked with me. When you're there 20 years now, you know you're going to have a number of assistants. They need to take part in realizing that they had a big part in me standing here in front of you tonight. And I hate to use the word assistant because when you're partnered up with somebody, you're making decisions together. You're not soloing it, as I spoke earlier. You're making decisions together for the good of the program, the good of that team. And one person's idea is never going to be good enough, but 2 people collectively can make a better conscious decision. My assistants were great. One of those guys I love very much. He's sitting right here. Jonathan Norton. Jonathan and I were side by side for 7 years. I don't say this lightly, but I say it honestly. He's the best women's basketball coach sitting in this building right now. But even as a head coach, that's not his best attribute. His best attribute is the world-class recruiter. He would go out and recruit superstars, bring them into me, and all I had to do was say, play hard, go that way. And that combination worked for 7 years, and it was a blessing. The best, the nicest compliment I ever received as a basketball coach, we went to Augusta State to play. Greg Wilson was the coach at Augusta. He was super. His team was super. We were pretty good as well. We lucked up and won that night. And as is normal, coaches shake hands and say congratulations after the game, and we do that, and we're walking kind of back towards the sideline, and he puts his arm around me. He says, "Can I make a comment?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "In all my years coaching, I've never seen all the girls on one team play as hard every second as your girls do every game. That's special." So all my assistants have a part in me standing here. And then the last group is all the players. No matter how good Coach Norton and I were, or me, or anybody else, the players are the ones that make the coach. The players are the ones that define the program. And it's a little bit humbling to sit back and think about the players and the blood, sweat, and tears that they give on behalf of their school, their teammates, themselves, their coaching staff. They just let it all hang out for the program to be successful. It's humbling to think they sell out, and you're part of the reason why they're selling out. That's special. Being there 20 years, you've had a bunch of players come through. Some just 1 year, lots all 4 years. It was special. So I say thanks to all those players. Lastly, though, on a personal note, you don't go into coaching with an eyeball on how many wins you're going to get over your career, how many national championships or championships in general that you're going to win. You don't go into coaching for that. And that's one of the things that my father taught me. Every single day, you're with this group of girls. Every single day, you are a mentor for them. You're, in some cases, in my case, you're a surrogate father. You're an advisor, a cheerleader, a disciplinarian, every day. And so you do have reason to think that you can help guide, direct, and keep this person on the straight and narrow. The good thing about coaching in college is you got a start and a finish. They come in as a freshman, they finish as a senior. 4 years. Generally speaking, they come in as a freshman. They're bug-eyed, they're intimidated, they are unsure of themselves, they don't want to speak to you. They're hoping that they fit in, they're hoping that they're skilled enough to have some success. And then you watch them mature. In their senior year, you watch them walk across the stage at graduation getting their diploma. And their head is held high. They're standing tall. They're very competent. They're very eager to be challenging the world. And you look and say, maybe I had a little piece of helping that young lady get to that point in her life. That's what coaching is all about. The wins, the championships, icing on the cake. The relationships, that's what it's all about. Of course, I'm proud of the success we've had. But it's a we success. It's not a me success. I cherish all the friends that I made. I cherish all the memories, and there's tons of memories, both good and bad. And as I stand here, I say again, this is such a humbling experience, a wow experience. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me tonight.
Congratulations, Jay Sparks, and the Sparks family as well. Our next inductee in 1974 was a member of the football, wrestling, and track teams at Central High School in Phoenix City. In 1974, he was all by city in football and was a member of the all-state track team during the years 1974 through 78. He was awarded the David W. Smythe Cup at Columbia University and was the Columbia University's most valuable player 1975 through 77. He was the Player of the Week in the Eastern College Athletic Conference and was selected to the All-Ivy football team in 1978 and 79. He was a wide receiver, punt, and kickoff returner for the New York Jets of the National Football League. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Bruce Stevens has proven that being small and fast can take you all the way from the high school gridiron to the pros. Stevens was known for his speed when he played for Coach Wayne Trawick at Central High School in the early 70s. He was a 3-year starter at running back and put an exclamation point on his prep career at Central by being named to the All-Bi-City football team. But football wasn't the only arena where his blazing speed was put on display. Bruce was an invaluable member of the Red Devils track team. His prowess on the oval landed him on the all-state track team in the 440 and 880 relays. One of his teammates just happened to be future Olympian Harvey Glantz. After graduating from Central in 1974, Stevens had a big decision to make: where to play college ball. Colleges like Pittsburgh, Princeton, Harvard, and Georgia had shown some interest, but Bruce accepted a scholarship offer from Columbia in the Ivy League. As a freshman, he played flanker and opened the season with a 60-yard touchdown reception against Princeton. His sophomore year, Bruce was switched to running back, which proved to be a good move for the Lions offense. Stevens went on to make the All-Ivy League team twice at Columbia. He was selected the Player of the Week once in the Eastern College Athletic Conference. He also distinguished himself as the recipient of the David W. Smith Cup Award that goes to the team's most valuable player. Stevens would graduate from Columbia University with a bachelor's degree in economics. He next got a letter from the New York Jets asking him to try out. He reported to their training facility and made the team. The Jets signed Bruce to a 2-year contract as a return specialist and wide receiver. His pro career ended in New York due to injury. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame is proud to induct Bruce Stevens.
Ladies and gentlemen, class of 2019 inductee, Bruce Stevens. The mic is yours, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I would just like to say, to God be the glory. I am truly, truly honored to be inducted into the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame. I'm a dreamer. All my life I've had dreams. From when I was a small boy, 8, 9 years old, I can remember telling my father that, Dad, one day you're going to see me on TV. One day you're going to watch me play football. And he just looked at me and I said, yep, one day. And I've had that dream all my life. This is the one thing that I didn't have a dream about. You know, the Chattahoochee Valley Hall of Fame. So I am very, and especially in awe of all of the other gentlemen, the talent of people here, I am very, very honored to be here. Something, like I said, I never dreamed about. In 1974, like Jim White said, I had some decisions to make. A lot of my classmates were going to Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Alabama State, Tuskegee, some of the other schools. I wanted to be a pharmacist. And my older brother, who had just finished down at Florida State some years ago, he sat down with me and we looked at some schools. And he said, well, Bruce, he said, Columbia has a pharmacy school. So why don't you try Columbia? So I applied to Columbia. I applied to University of Michigan, had pharmacy school, Princeton, Harvard, North Carolina, Duke. I applied to all those schools, and Columbia came back, and Columbia said, well, I applied and I got accepted at Columbia. And once I got accepted at Columbia, I didn't even know they had a football team. And so when I found out they had a football team, I went back to Coach Wayne Trawick and got some film. We had film back in those days. So I got film and sent the film up to Columbia, and they said, yep. They looked at the film and said, yeah, come on up. Now, that was a big move coming from Phoenix City. I guess at the time we had a population of about 25,000 people going to New York City. And my mother, Miss Carrie Stevens right there, who's, God bless her, she'll be 94 years old this year. She wasn't too enthused about me going all the way to New York City. And I kept telling her, I said, Mom, I'll be okay, I'll be okay. And I think the reason I truly believe that because it was part of my dream. I wanted to play football. I had a passion for football, baseball, sports. And as a matter of fact, even just to regress a little bit, going back to high school, if anybody had asked me, I would say, yeah, I'm going to major in football and minor in baseball. That's how much I wanted to play. And so I got to Columbia and had a rude awakening the first time I was there because my chemistry advisor set me down in this. I'm a 17-year-old freshman, just left Phoenix City in New York City at Columbia University, sitting down before my advisor, and he looked at me and he said, Bruce, he said, you're not going to make it. I said, why not? He said, you're not going to make it. He said, you got too much going against you. So here I am. I'm ready to get started at Columbia, play football, get my academics right, and I got this gentleman sitting there saying, you're not going to make it. So I sat there and I said, well, why? He said, Bruce, he said, you graduated from a public high school in Alabama. He said, this is in the 70s. He said, and Alabama has, public high schools in Alabama don't rank as high as the schools across the country. He said, you're majoring in chemistry. You're competing with kids that have gone to private schools in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. And they graduated from the private schools, then they went on to prep schools, 2 years of college prep schools. And these kids, they're not playing sports, so they're coming to college, they're just dedicated, just studying. He said, you got football, it's just too much going against you. Now, why would he tell me that? So, and that's when I found out they're not naysayers out there. They're just people that don't share the same dream that you have. Because when I walked away, I said, no, I'm determined to do what I came here to do because he doesn't know my heart. He doesn't know my determination. And because of that, he doesn't know me. He just knows what he sees. And because of that, it just gave me that much more inspiration to go out and do exactly what I came there to do. I played football. I was successful playing football. Great coaches, Coach Bill Campbell, Coach Charlie Blank at Columbia. Went on from Columbia. And the one thing about Columbia, I'll just let you know, it was no athletic scholarship, so everything was based on academics. So all of the financial aid, all the money I received from Columbia at the time to go to school was based on my academics. And at Columbia, too, football was secondary, tertiary, it was down the list. At our the home stadium for us was, the campus was on 116th and Broadway. Our stadium was on 218th and Broadway. It would take us every day, hour and a half by bus just to get to the stadium so we could practice. Practice for a couple of hours, hour and a half to come back, meal. So it was about a 6-hour day just dedicated for football. We didn't have the luxury of having a stadium right on campus. And so being for home games, if I took a home game at Central, Central we would have 7,000-8,000 people. But at Columbia, if I were on the home side of the stadium, we had about, if we had 1,000 people, football was just not recognized there. But it didn't deter me, so I knew what I was there for. And so it came time for my senior year. I told Coach my head coach, I told him I wanted to give it a shot to play pro football. And he said, well, Bruce, you should get a job. Go out and get a job. I'll set you up with some jobs and stuff like that. I said, okay. So I just a little story. I had a job interview in Chicago with the company, and the interview went well, and they offered me the job. And he said, well, Bruce, we want to hire you. And I said, well, he said, what's wrong? I said, let me put forward this proposal. I said, I'm glad that you gave me the job, but can I put it off until about September? And he said, why? So I told him, I said, I had one thing I needed to do, one thing I needed to get out of my system, because I didn't want to go through life, get to be my age now, 50, 60, whatever it is, and look back and say, I should have, or I wish I had. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to look back and say, either I did it and I made it, or I did it, tried, and it didn't work out, so I can move on. So when I told him what I wanted to do with playing pro football, he said, I tell you what, he said, you go do what you have to do, we'll hold a job. And you just let me know, come September, let me know if you want to come back and work for us. So in the meantime, I had gotten some letters and some recruitment from the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Jets, the Giants, there's one of the Bengals. And so I knew people were watching me, I knew people wanted me. But when the Jets came up and they went through the process of measuring me, I wasn't that big. I was only about 175 pounds, 180 at most. But when they clocked me, I ran a 4.25.40. And when I ran a 4.25.40, at first he didn't believe it. And he said, well, Bruce, you know what? You wait here, I'll go down on that side. He thought it was wind-nated. So, and I was under the impression I was just going to have to run one time. So I had exhausted myself. I said, wait, give me 5 minutes. So he said, take your time, take your time. So he went back on that side of the field. I ran a 4.3. And he said, boy, he said, you legit. I said, yeah. I said, all I need is a chance. And that's all I ever asked for was a chance. And because of that, the Jets signed me, and they gave me an opportunity to play. And even there, I found out that it's truly a business. And the more you can do, the more you can, the longer you'll be around. And so the first day of practice, Walt Michaels, who was the coach at the Jets, he, after practice was over, he said, I want all the return people, kickers, punters, return people to stay after practice. So I walked off the field because I didn't do a lot of returns in college. So I was walking off the field and something looked like it just tapped me on the shoulder and said, turn around. So I turned around and there was only one person back as a kick returner. And as I turned around, Walt Michaels looked at me and he said, Bruce, he said, you return punts? I said, yes, sir, I can return punts. And so that's where it started, because I could return punts and could return kickoffs and was a wide receiver. I made the team. But later on in life, I truly learned, I was grateful. My dream, I had fulfilled my dream that I wanted to play pro football. But I found out that what it was all about, it wasn't so much, the dream wasn't so much for me to hold on to and say, you know, this, Bruce, this is what you did, this is who you are. But it was for other people. God had blessed me so that I could be a blessing. And so I started coaching, and I coached for like 15 years. I'm listening to the coaches up here, and it's an inspirational business. I was the kind of coach, I didn't believe in I wasn't a rah-rah kind of coach where, I'm up and down screaming and yelling at the kids. No, that wasn't me. I told the parents, it was youth football. I told the parents, I said, I don't care if we win or lose. The bottom line, as long as the kids went out and gave it their best and they had fun, that's all that mattered to me. And they learned to play together. I said, that's what I wanted to teach them. Because I truly believe football and other team sports is more than just a game. It's truly, truly a roadmap for life. Because if you can transfer the things that you do on the football field, the basketball field, the baseball field, take those things and put them into the academic room, athletes are supposed to be the best students. That's what I always say. Because athletes have something that a lot of other regular kids that go to school don't have. They got the competitive drive, they got the determination, they know how to stick with it. Those are things that a lot of times you can't teach other people. You just got to have it. But you got to apply it. And if they don't apply it, then they're going to end up like everybody else. And that was the one thing I wanted to teach all my kids, that what you learn on the field, transfer it into the classroom, transfer it into everyday life. And from my coaching career, the biggest two thrills I got out of coaching, one of the biggest ones was when one of the mothers saw me. I think I was at a Walmart, and she said, Coach Bruce, she said, are you going to coach this year? Because I had coached about 14 years. I said, well, I don't know. It's kind of tired. It's getting a little long. She said, my son said if you don't coach, he won't play. And when she told me that, I went home and told my wife, I said, I got to coach. I got to coach. And the other big thing I got from coaching, I had the pleasure of coaching my son. My son couldn't make it here. He's out in Arizona. I had the pleasure of coaching my son, who was a much better athlete than me. And I told him over and over, I said, I wish I could do, at 13 or 14, 15 years old, I wish I could do what you're doing now, even when I was 16, 17, and 18. We had one game, and I was keeping the stats, and I stopped counting at 230 yards that he had rushed for. And he had about 3 touchdowns, and on his last touchdown, we was with the other coaches standing on the sideline. We ran a sweep into the sideline, which you don't supposed to do. But we ran it into the sideline because the defense had shifted to the wide side of the field. So we ran it into the sideline, and we're standing there and I watched my son get the ball and just go up the sideline, and we're just standing there looking and looking. One of the coaches turned to me and he said, Bruce, he said, that's a chip off the old block. I looked at him, I said, nope. I said, that's a brand new block. I said, that's a brand new block right there. And my son also, I used to take him back up to Columbia when he was small. 7 years old, we went back up to Columbia to watch one of the basketball games. And at halftime, we walked over to the football office. So when I got there, I met one of the young coaches, and he said, can I help you? I said, yeah, my name is Bruce Stevens. I used to play here. And I have my son, I just want to show him around. He said, Bruce Stevens. He said, I know you. So he said, come here, I want to show you something. So he took me, unbeknownst to me, he took me back into the main conference room, and he had my picture up there. And my son, 7 years old, he looked at the picture, he said, Dad, he said, that's you in a football uniform. I said, yeah, Boo, Dad was a football man. And I came back and told my wife, I said, that was for me, that made it, that kind of brought it full circle. That's why I did what I did just for that moment. But I do want to recognize a few people. My mother, Miss Carrie Stevens, she was probably one of my biggest fans. And I think to this day, she's still a New York Jets fan. Every time I call home, I say, she always, Bruce, what about the Jets? Now, I live about 20 miles from Philadelphia. My wife and I got a photography business. I've done some work with the Eagles. So I know a few of the Eagles players. So with living 20 miles from Philadelphia, I'm in touch. I kind of keep up with the Eagles. And on Sundays, we just see the Eagles. We don't see the Jets. But I always tell my mother, I don't know what they're doing. I'm just watching the Eagles, but she's still a big fan. My older brother, Rick, Richard Stevens is over there. My sister, Chandra, she's the glue. We had 4 boys and 1 girl in the family. She's the glue that holds the family together. Younger brother, Reginald, Central High, Tuskegee graduate. And got my cousin, first cousin, also my big sister, Betty, with her husband, Thomas. And I think that's what I see. But the thing I would like to leave everyone with is that I'm a dreamer. I've always dreamed. My father, God bless his dad, he's here with me. But he always told me, you don't have to be the best, but just do your best. And I think he knew, and my mother also knew, that all of us, if we did our best, we would be the best. And that's the attitude I've taken into everything I've done. You know, I walk on the field. When I walked on the field, I said, I'm the best. You got to prove me wrong. One of the reporters at the New York Post said, interviewed me, he said, Bruce, he said, you're small. You're only 175 pounds. He said, how do you make it out in football? And I looked at him, I said, football is a man's game. Men come in all different sizes. I just happen to be a small man. And I said, so with that attitude, I can conquer the world. And I know that I'm the best. Until you prove me otherwise, I'm the best. But in closing, I would like to say, oh, and I forgot my wife. Well, she had asked me a couple of weeks ago, she said, Bruce, did you write a speech? I said, Michelle, I tried, I can't. I tried to write a speech, I could not write it, so I told her I'm just going to talk from the heart. My wife, Michelle, we've going on 32 years. So the one thing I want to say is that I'm a dreamer, and I say I still dream. And I say dream big dreams. Dreams big, dream big dreams. My father always said it doesn't matter how big that tree is, as long as you keep swinging the axe, chipping away, sooner or later it'll fall. As long as you got that big dream, doesn't matter how big it is, as long as you keep working the plan, and keeping the faith, it'll fall. It will come to pass. But the minute you stop swinging that axe, the minute you stop chipping away, it's going to come to a halt. So dream big dreams. And again, thank you for this honor. I could have never dreamt about being an inductee at the Columbus Sport Hall of Fame. So thank you. I mean, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Bruce, and congratulations to the Stevens family as well. In closing, I'd like to share a thought or two with you. Folks, we believe there's at least one graphic measure that distinguishes the great men and women of the Chattahoochee Valley. We believe that measure to be the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame. While it's physically located in the Columbus Civic Center, at least that's where the inductee memorabilia is located, I believe perhaps it's more closely located in our hearts. Within it are 121 individuals. Tonight, we added 8 more. We received them in large part because they were visionaries of perfection. They acted nobly, they acted with purpose of mind and purpose of body. Whether taken individually or collectively, we submit to you that they have had a very impacting style of contribution and life to the quality of life here in Columbus and the Chattahoochee Valley. May I suggest that before we adjourn, let's please stand and give one final round of applause for the class of 2019. You fellas stand. Stand up. Good night, everyone.